requesting our support as always. Our Director of Children's Services is here and our Chief Exec. And I guess it's just to say it's just kind of it's unfittingly a kind of a historic moment that this is the final cabinet meeting under the cabinet system that this council has operated for many years. And as all these final things, there's a poignancy about them, and it isn't met somehow in the grandeur of the room or our attendance. But we have many people online watching, so let's move on with the meeting. And just to confirm as true, a record of the minutes. You have them. I'll need a propose and a second, and we'll do the minutes for the 13th of March, pages 5 to 8. I need a proposer and a seconder. Councillor Luciani has proposed minutes for the 13th of March. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Andre. Those in favour of recording as a true show. Did you have that? Yeah. Those who are abstaining.
I was Chairman. I was at the meeting, but I was in the meeting as a.
So that's an abstention.
So, yeah,
Thank you. So that's all well noted. Let's then say for the minutes of the 20th of March, pages 9 to 16.
I'm happy to propose those, Chair.
Thank you for that, Paul. So Councillor Fuller's proposed that. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Gioni has seconded that. Those that are in attendance, please show as a record, through record. Thank you. Those abstaining, Councillor Christensen, thank you. Do we have any declarations of interest? There are no declarations of interest. Therefore, public question time. There are no members of the public, but we do have 2 written public questions. These are from a Mr. Simon Richards, to the Cabinet Member for Children's Services, and from Rachel Richards to the Cabinet Member for Children's Services Education. So I'll hand over to you, Councillor Christensen, for if you would read out the 2 questions one at a time with the replies, and we will provide those in writing and they will be published thereafter on the council website.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, firstly we have the question from Simon Richards, and he has asked that following a recent announcement that 97.6% of Island parents have gained a place at primary school of their choice for their child to enrol in September 25, will the Cabinet Member reveal the number of Island primary schools that are oversubscribed for the reception intake in September 2025, and the number of primary schools that are undersubscribed by more than 10% for their reception intake, this being the Department of Education's recommended level of surplus school places. And the response with those figures is that, and this is the allocation of the date, the 16th of April 25, does not include any late applications or change of preferences. 7 primary schools were oversubscribed for September for the reception intake, and 21 primary schools were undersubscribed by more than the 10% for the September intake. So we will forward that on.
Richards, I'm not aware that Rachel is online. She's certainly not in the room. There is a written question. If you read the question out, and we will provide a written response.
Yes, because the response is quite involved.
Yep.
I'll read.
Provide that in writing. Just read out the question.
The question is, given that the Lionheart School is a pupil referral unit, not designated as a special school, and the proposed expansion includes 60 additional places at a satellite site in Cowes, specifically for children with high anxiety needs who do not have an EHCP. Can the Cabinet member confirm how this aligns with statutory guidance, which defines PRUs as short-term transitional provision, and explain how the Council will ensure this expansion does not result in the creation of long-term specialist provision without the legal safeguards, entitlements and accountability provided by an EHCP? So as I say, the response is quite involved, but it is about
Provide that in writing. It will be published and on the council website. Thank you for that. There are no further public questions, so we'll move on to Chairman's announcements. I don't have much to say. I've referred to it being the last cabinet meeting and will pass into history, as it were, in that sense, as we move on to a new system of governance for the council, for elected members at least. What I would say is that there are a number of issues, key strategic issues that I've been involved with and dealing with on an ongoing basis. Those three key items are devolution, they are local government reorganisation, and more recently, although ongoing, the ferries. Only yesterday, along with our Chief Exec, Wendy, we attended a meeting with the Minister for Maritime, Mike Kane, at a venue on the island with numbers of stakeholders, with the ferry operators and with our two MPs. An interesting meeting, a frank Chatham House rules meeting where people were able to speak openly and freely. This is going to lead on to work by the Minister's Department on ferries and on pricing and on an independent adjudication of a charter. So this is work coming down the line for the benefit of all people on this island, all businesses, and for our visitors that come here. So there's much work to do. It's a long journey and will be testing at times, but nonetheless, it's a journey that's well started. I think it's fair to say that mainly because we have never had two MPs before, only ever had one, but it is a unique moment in that the leadership of the Isle of Wight Council plus two MPs are completely united in their determination to address the issues that face this island because of cross-Solent services. So I'm hopeful, positive, and very pragmatic that it's going to take time. I also should say, as moving into linking with devolution, that the Minister, Jim McMahon, agreed with me at a recent meeting that under devolution talks and discussions, we will be able to discuss some degree of oversight, not necessarily regulation, although that hasn't been ruled out, but some degree of oversight through devolution over the ferry services. So that's also a key and ongoing matter to be dealt with over the next 12 months. In fact, it won't be 12 months because by this time next year, devolution, the elections will have taken place for a mayor. And so we'll be in a pre-election period months before, and I would assume that we would be needing to have agreed with government around the end of this year, at very best January or perhaps February, but certainly around that time, the full details of the devolution agreement and moving towards that devolved arrangement with our partner authorities in Hampshire, Southampton and Portsmouth. So that work's ongoing. It's important work for this island. It's a positive step and offers up opportunities that we have not seen before on the island. So that's great. And then finally, on local government reorganisation, more problematic, particularly for the mainland, where they have two-tier authorities and we are a unitary authority, but nonetheless are on the periphery of discussions about reorganisation. You know that we have put in plans for, in our plans for an exception for the Isle of Wight to remain as the single unitary that it is within the devolved area. So we are collating further evidence and information to support our case in that aspiration to remain unjoined to the mainland. So they're key areas of work that the administration, the chief exec and her team are engaged in. Let's move on to the report of the Cabinet Member for Climate Change, Biosphere and Waste, Councillor Laura P.C. Wilcox, and the Isle of Wight Nature Recovery Strategy, page 17 to 40 of our papers.
Yeah, well, hopefully everybody has read the papers. I mean, it's been through scrutiny process twice now and has been supported both times. This is a government initiative that was set out and we started working in the summer of 2023. We very astutely asked ARC Biodiversity and Climate Company, with experience of over 20 years, to take on this huge piece of work. They've done it absolutely magnificently. 20 months of engagement and preparation. When it went through to DEFRA, the panel considered that the Isle of Wight's LNRS had the potential to be an exemplar for the rest of the country, and indeed Hampshire's was thrown out. So well done to James Brewer and the Art Biodiversity team for the work that they've put in. In simple layman's terms, this is what and where are our key habitats and species on the island, and what can we do to protect them better, in the most simplest of terms. I think it's absolutely fantastic. Some of the stuff that's come out already is going to be so worthwhile to the island in years to come. This is something that will be there for islanders for the future. So my recommendation is that we support the LNRS and put it through. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura. Have I got a seconder?
Yes, thank you.
Councillor Fullers.
I'd like to speak.
Yeah, just before you do, thank you, Debbie. I should point out that Corporate Scrutiny reviewed this on Tuesday, and their recommendation is that the report be noted. So we've noted their noting. Councillor Andre, I'll come to you, Paul, if you want to speak.
Thank you, Leader. I was absolutely delighted to see this come forward. I was there right at the beginning when the Isle of Wight got designated as a UNESCO biosphere, and delighted to see that this strategy is working in parallel and with support of the Council's Climate and Environment Strategy to maintain our biosphere designation. A biosphere designation is not a one-off thing. It's something that we have to actually maintain, nurture and grow. And I think that this strategy absolutely supports that. And it's only right and proper that this beautiful island, this is actually mapping out exactly the kind of things that we need to maintain. The other thing that I'm really, really delighted about is this is about our children's futures as well. This is about maintaining, preserving the wonders of the island for future generations. So I'm really delighted to see this come forward. Thank you, Leader.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chairman. I would like to echo the comments of Councillor Stewart the other night, saying that this is a mighty fine document. I think he said it was the most fine document he'd ever read from the Isle of Wight Council. From my perspective, we've had initial responses on the island plan from the inspectors. And, you know, one of the big concerns that we've got is that there will be further pressure to build on our green spaces across the island. And I think the local nature recovery strategy will help to perhaps offset some of these constraints that we might find being imposed upon us should the island plan get accepted. in the or get particularly if it is rejected. Very disappointed, but I can feed back on that at full council in a couple of weeks' time. And I would ask that members do actually digest what is in the report from James, because it is quite important to take both plans that will work together forward.
Thank you, Paul. Julie.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, yesterday I had an interview with someone, a professor working at Exeter University, and they're looking at all of the nature recovery plans and how they may integrate with the economy of a place. It was really good to be able to talk about that, and I think I was very proud to be able to say about how important our island's beauty is, and the integrity of our biodiversity, and of course the biosphere itself, to our visitor economy. That's what people come to see. It's absolutely at the heart of everything we do. And I think, and because we have a population on the island that go back many centuries, in fact, we're just talking just upstairs now, weren't we?
Yeah.
You know, yours, mine, yours as well.
Yeah.
Many others around the table. We are invested in our place. You cannot disconnect us from our island. So it was just really good to be able to speak about that, and also we touched upon how important the town and parish councils will be in helping to deliver this strategy as well. And he said that only the second place that said that, Shropshire was the other place that with their recovery plan. They've got 300 parish councils up there. That's quite a lot, isn't it? But they'll be working on that. So yeah, that's all I wanted to say. So well done to the team, and thank you for leading on it, Councillor P.C. Wilcox.
Just a note, I received an email from an organisation that's obviously doing this, reviewing this across the country, with lists of all the local authorities that have signed up to a nature strategy. So it's interesting here. Would you just read the recommendation out?
Packed it away now. I finished. So the recommendation is to approve the Isle of Wight Local Nature Recovery Strategy, provided as background papers A, B, C and D to this report, and to B, publish the LNRS in accordance with the Environment Local Nature Recovery Strategies Procedure Regulations 2023, and to delegate any final editorial and presentational changes the Isle of Wight Nature Recovery Strategy prior to publication to the Director of Communities, so long as they do not materially alter the intention of the version agreed by Cabinet.
Thank you, Councillor Lord C. Wilcox. We've had a proposal second. Those in favour of adopting the strategy, please show. That's unanimous. Thank you, colleagues. And we'll move on to the report of the Cabinet Member for Children's Service Education and Corporate Functions. The first item is the expansion of special educational needs provision, page 41 to 56. I should say that this was also reviewed by Corporate Scrutiny on Tuesday, and their recommendation is as follows: that the committee recommends that the Cabinet approves going forwards with the consultation, subject to an explanation being provided of the roadmap, and with a caveat, so not to give false hope, that expectations are not unduly set in stone. So that's the recommendation of Corporate Scrutiny. Over to you, Claire.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, there is proposals here for expansion of places at several places, which I can read out in the recommendation exactly where, but they are areas around the island that they've been mapped out, especially with the need that we've got for additional places. And it's going to start, go some way to meet the changing requirements of our education, and is really building on what we've already done with the SEND requirements, and it's moving forward with that. So it's going in the right direction.
Thank you. Do I have I think, Claire, will you just read out the recommendation as a proposal, and then we'll ask for a second?
So this is the recommendation is to go to consultation on this, and it is with the expansion of places at Medina House School from 138 to 168, with 30 places being provided at satellite provision located at the site of the former Tillerton and Primary School. The expansion of resource provision at Honey Hill Primary School from 8 places to 12 for the children with SEMH, which is social, emotional, mental health. Expansion of resource provision at Brading Primary School from 8 places to 12 for children with autism spectrum and complex learning. Expansion of the resource provision at the Bay C Primary School from 15 to 20 places, that's the secondary sites with autism spectrum. Expansion of Lionheart School from 60 places to 120, with 60 places for children with complex high anxiety and mental health needs. And that is being provided at the Cowes Primary School site, subject to closure. And expansion of St George's School from 208 places to 228 places, with 40 places being provided in the satellite site located in East Cowes. And the creation of 12 new places at the primary school at Royston Primary with children with autism spectrum and language communication need.
Thank you, Claire. Any comments or questions? Councillor Andre.
I have a comment. I've previously held Children's Services and Education. When I first came into the post, it was very apparent. Parents were coming to me and saying, we do not have adequate special educational needs and disabilities provision on the island. I have to say, because of events that we all know have happened since then, the situation, I think, has become even more needed. And I'm absolutely delighted to see not just the proposals that have been put forward, but the actual targeting of those specific areas within special educational needs and disabilities that we know are needed. Now, this recommendation is to go out to consultation. So I would urge all parents, grandparents, teachers, anyone that is involved in education that has a view on this to engage in the consultation, because looking at that is, I think, what we need, but we need parents to be telling us, is this really what we need? And I think it is. So I'm really pleased to support this recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you, Debbie. Any further comments or questions on this? Paul?
Yeah, I remember when I first rejoined the local authority back in 2009, and I remember parents really upset, angry, because there was not a sufficient autism provision on the island at the day. You know, that was a very long time ago, and I think in that time we've learned a great deal more. And I think to support those parents is something that is, you know, although there is the provision currently, to be able to widen that provision to reflect what is actually happening out there is really important as well. So I welcome this, and I welcome the consultation, and I'm really hopeful that the responses that we get back from the consultation will mirror that concern that we as councillors have received from our residents, and also from our schools also. It is a really important consultation, and I'd like to thank Ashley for the report. Fantastic, thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Yes. Any further comments and questions? Would you like to formally propose it, please, Claire?
I do.
Don't reread it, though.
I'm not going to reread it. That we take the expansion and this proposal to consultation.
Thank you. I need a seconder for that, please. Debbie seconded that. Proposed and seconded. Those in favour of moving this consultation, please show. That's unanimous. Thank you, colleagues. And then we'll move on to the Isle of Wight Education Strategy 2025-2030, pages 57 to 106. The Corporate scrutiny reviewed this on Tuesday. The recommendation is as follows: that the committee, that's Corporate Scrutiny Committee, recommends that the Cabinet moves forward with the adoption of the education strategy to ensure that a strategy is in place, and the matter be referred to the first meeting of the future Children's Services, Education and Skills Committee, on the understanding that further work was needed regarding the current unsustainable school system. So that's noted, and I'll take some advice on whether we need to write this into our proposal, but that's noted from corporate scrutiny. Just want to speak to that, Claire.
Yes, thank you, Chair. So I thank the Children's Services team putting this together, the education team putting this together as well. It's a lot of work on this. This is a plan for the next 5 years, and it does take into consideration place planning, but that is a separate area that will need to be worked on with the new committees as well. And we know that there's still the issues, but this does look at every aspect of the education from all different stakeholders. And the schools improvement team will use this to raise our education standards. It's really important to have this in place, and but I agree with scrutiny. It will need to be looked at, and if it goes to the next committee, then that's welcomed. So yeah, but I propose that we adopt this strategy and start, improving standards as much as we can.
Okay, thank you. Any comments or questions? I've given you what corporate scrutiny recommend. What I can tell you is that it is already listed for the first meeting under the new government system of the committee for children's services, whatever the full title is. Yeah. No further. Jonathan.
Thank you, Chair. Firstly, can I say I very much support the education strategy? To quote a well-known phrase, he would say that, wouldn't he? Because most of it was developed when I was cabinet member. I have asked a written question later, which I assume you will be dealing with by a written response. So I wanted to interject here and make a serious point and ask how the Cabinet, by ignoring the advice of legal advisors and educational professionals, and thereby creating a situation where a 2-year delay to taking any significant action in respect of creating a sustainable school estate has been created, how the Cabinet has done anything other than to put the aims of the education strategy at risk and create a situation where our education standards are likely to deteriorate further, and in part necessitate the sort of extra work on the strategy that scrutiny was referring to on Tuesday. And I very much want to emphasise education standards here. I'm pleased that the new cabinet member mentioned that. I'm rather assuming the answer that you've prepared for later will not be mentioning education standards. And it is a consideration which, in my view, has failed to be referred to by many, if not most, throughout the process which was taking place in relation to place planning over past months, whereas it is the most important consideration rather than short-term political gain or what deals might be achieved by kicking the can down the road, as I think has happened. So, yeah, the question is, has the education strategy been put at risk by the way Cabinet behaved on the 20th of March?
Thank you for that question. The very quick answer is, my view is no, but I would say that I'll have a go at answering some of that, because I think that the decision taken by Cabinet on the 20th of March took into account all prevailing information available at the time, especially that of the wider recommendations made by full council and corporate scrutiny that was ignored on Tuesday by corporate scrutiny, when I heard 4 times about Cabinet taking this decision and completely and utterly forgetting that Corporate Scrutiny Committee recommended to Cabinet that they should not close any schools. I found that rather interesting, to say the least. Nonetheless, we were recommended by Corporate Scrutiny to ignore the school place planning and the education strategy and not close any schools whatsoever. Cabinet was mindful of the challenges from the diocese also to prevent school closures and the potential adjudication process and legal challenges that might be instigated, all or any of which may have impacted and delayed school closures for this year, regardless of any decision taken. I can tell you that that adjudication process has been triggered on one of the schools. Cabinet were further mindful that the data on surplus places indicated that further school closures contained in the report were undertaken and the decision to close them was undertaken. Cabinet considered that in view of the impacting factors, the democratic process and the democratic recommendations of full council and corporate scrutiny, that further school closures would be necessary, that legal process was not a desired outcome for all concerned, and that the surplus places issue could not be solved in one go. And that under those factors, it decided on balance in a majority vote to agree to allow the new governance system of the council starting in May to address the ongoing issues of surplus school places across the island. I just add that Councillor Andre has asked me to make it clear that she did not vote to support that and was not supportive of the comments made in Cabinet. It was a majority vote, not a unanimous vote. So that would be our answer, Councillor Bacon.
Hand up, I believe.
I can't see that.
Brody.
Who is it?
Councillor Brady.
Councillor Brodie.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Jordan. Just a quick question in relation to what you've just said. I'm a member of the Corporate Scrutiny Committee, currently the vice chair of it. Would you recognise that the recommendation of that committee to not to close any schools was only approved by 6 votes to 4? I wasn't one of the 6. And of the 6 people, 4 of them had prejudicial interests in that some of the named schools were in their wards, such as Councillor Mosdell, either in their wards or they had a connection, such as Councillor Mosdell, Councillor Downer, Councillor Lilly, and the 4th one I can't remember off the top of my head. Would you recognise that? And that there were 4 councillors, including the 2 Green Party members of the Cabinet who opposed the closures, myself, and the leader of the opposition, Councillor Ed Blake. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Brodie. Councillor Brodie, I accept the facts as they are. They are the facts, and they are the facts. I accept those. Yeah, I have nothing else to say. Recommendation from the committee was the recommendation also, that's a fact, but I accept that you have a view on the membership and the way they voted, and I accept that. That's perfectly understandable that you have those views and are able to express them. Any further questions? Can I have a formal proposal and a seconder, please?
Propose that we adopt the education strategy and with the recommendations from corporate scrutiny, and it's 3A and 3B because it also to delegate to the strategic director of children's services the authority to make any changes in consultation with the cabinet member, and That does not materially affect the document.
Thank you. Do I have a second there? Councillor Andre. No further questions. Those in favour of the proposal, please show. That's also unanimous. Thank you, colleagues. Thank you. So we'll move on to Cabinet member announcements. Councillor PC Wilcox.
Thank you. You please stay, Councillor Bacon, and it would be nice if you joined the table. As this is our last official Cabinet meeting, and bearing in mind I created the original Cabinet, I wanted to mark the event. I knew some people who I chose to be part of the Alliance, others not so. My choice of Cabinet, in the main, was a no-brainer. With their experience and the years of service, it was easy to choose some. Others were a leap of faith. For 4 years, or rather 2 years, 19 weeks, or over 861 days, give or take, maths not my forte, that I was leader was mostly spent firefighting, one crisis after another. I became the UN's unpaid and most adept leader at trying to pacify bickering councillors, and that was almost every day. I think we're on to the 5th leader of the Conservatives. I did see 4 of them off. And as leader, I lost count of the Prime Ministers I wrote to, congratulating them on getting them in, and when would they come to the island to talk about the island deal. Naturally, letters were sent to numerous government ministers as they seemed to change on a regular basis. Always my question was about the island deal. I met with a number of those ministers during my time. Deanna Davison from DLUC, Government Minister for Levelling Up, was keen for me to agree a devolution package with Hampshire. Deanna reflected that she admired my candour, as no one had ever been as succinct or as blunt as me. She rather appreciated it. I met with Michael Gove, Communities Local Government Minister, indeed on numerous occasions, and had supper where I managed to keep him rather entertained. He actually guffawed about my talk of posh frocks, my previous business, which he did seem rather interested in. Again, I laboured the point about the island deal. For the island, of course I did, even leaving little postcards in his pocket for when he got home. Had the opportunity to speak, with Lee Rowley, again, Levelling Up Minister, another one. And here I must thank one of my remarkable supporters who literally kept me locked up until I had an understanding of the island deal issues. Thank you, you know who you are. I attended and then hosted the Islands Forum. This was really useful and beneficial as it gave us an understanding of issues across a number of islands in the United Kingdom. Many were very impressed with our island, in particular the weather. Many sunburnt faces went back to Scotland. They weren't quite used to our weather. They booked tickets actually to our Isle of Wight festival after telling them how spectacular it was. They were keen also to replicate our CCAM college, which they were very impressed with. Supporting JB, and I'm glad he is here and stayed, and our net zero ambitions, I was able to get the Chief Exec of Ofgem down for a visit. I absolutely needed to impress on him the need for investment in a further cable under the Solent. This is to enable us to continue on our net zero path, for which we are doing amazing. I decided that after all the issues he faced, this is when the Ukraine war had started and the energy crisis kicked in, he needed a hug rather than a handshake when I met him, and that went down terribly well. I'm grateful for Phil for taking over the leader's job, but so very grateful to my cabinet. Oh, I'm going to get emotional now. For all they achieved over our administration. I know the sacrifices you all made, and I'm really grateful. My thanks to those supportive staff those that really understood us as independents, and those that enabled us to push through almost all of our corporate plan aims. Thank you. Finally, thanks to JB, who had my portfolio prior to me. I will read out in a minute a list of his and his staff's achievements. While he came up with some pretty odd suggestions, believe me, and his imagination ran away with him, in the most part, apart from saying, whoa, back down, JB, I was very supportive of him as leader whenever I could. I'm truly gutted that the one project I would really have loved to have seen was the duckboards across the marsh at Yaverland that goes up to Brading Roman Villa. I had Chris Packham on board to push the project through. What a great, I mean, some might say great name, not great name, but what a great guy that could have pushed this through. And I know the chief executive mentioned that she had money, but sadly, it never ever happened. Who knows, maybe my dream to walk where dinosaurs and Roman ancestors walk will come true for me one day. Until then, here is a list of the achievements JB, Karen, myself, and the dedicated green and waste staff actually contributed to. So we had the public order spaces, that was to reinstate the dog control order measures across the Isle of Wight. The campaign, Crime Not to Care campaign, residents with loads of waste to dispose of and getting decent carriers to do it. The fly tip and litter task and finish group. We did a deep down dive task and finish group, investigated responsibilities on land and waste. That is including details of various relevant council departments and arrangements of outside agencies. The littering and fly tipping activity, tackling littering on council island and wide on the island and wide, sorry, on council land and the wider island. Litter bins, the arrangements and rationale relating to bins and locations and emptying. Fly tipping, action against fly tippers, monitoring and surveillance in the enforcement. The green garden waste, the new battery recycling at curbside. Householders can leave their spent batteries out with their general collection waste and go, you know, in their black bags. In April 22, we replaced the 7 general waste collection fleet, enabling the battery recycling above. February 23, completed the transfer of the ownership of the waste contract. In 25, we had the final acceptance, finally, for the energy recovery facility. We've also embedded climate change and biosphere into the Isle of Wight corporate plan. The Carbon Literacy Organisation Pathway to Platinum Award, the Green Impact Assessment Awards. We introduced a new climate and environment impact assessment tool, which is the wheel that we have that goes on all of our papers to see how well we're doing. We supported enhanced biosphere and AOB in areas and active management and development of biosphere status and secure dark skies. We're still trying to get the dark skies filled. That's down to you and Island Roads and that negotiation. Published the Isle of Wight Climate and Environment Strategy, which sets the pathway to achieve the net zero in 3 stages. The carbon reduction that we did at the council was the fleet replacement, so staff EV charging facilities in offices and EV vehicles. We updated and submitted the strategic outline case for a transformation fund to recruit a full-time energy manager. Energy and emissions strategy, council estate forms part of their climate strategy. The Salix grant, we were granted 2.5 million to carry out works within Isle of Wight Council, and boy did it need it. The phase 1 was to have the air source heat pumps at 10 sites across the island. These have been fully replaced by gas heating, so that is good. There's many, but upon completion of all the solar PVs that we've had put in, all the LED lightings that we put in, we the Isle of Wight Council will be reducing our CO2 by around 550 tonnes every year. Our open spaces and estate management have done improvements to Fort Victoria, included upgraded picnic area and play equipment coming soon. Parks management seeing annual rugby and football tournaments across Sea Close. New planting scheme granted for 25 to 28. Sea Close pathway improvements and Bertie drains. Los Altos Park, very much needed tree works there. Hersey Nature Reserve, bringing that back. Drainage works to improve the habitats, absolutely been superb. Beds and borders at Ryde Interchange, managed by the Parks team. We also agreed to the Isle of Wight Council tree management strategy. The island is blessed with over 100,000 trees. Some might not say so, but I do. Owned by the council, and hundreds and thousands which more are privately owned. So we now have a tree strategy. We've supported the island's community with net zero home improvements. That is the Warmer Homes Programme, the Great British Insulation Scheme, and Connected for Warmth. We've also encouraged renewable energy via the solar eligible LPA plans for one 42-hectare solar park generating 28 megawatts, with another application, the current being determined at the local planning for 27-hectare solar park. We've also tonight agreed the local nature recovery strategy, which will be further enhancing our island. So far from, this is why I'm so proud of what we achieved in 4 years, because JB pushed it. I've just come along and hooked it along, but the staff have been there too. We've also planted almost 700 trees and 800 yew hedges. So just well done to everybody, and thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Laura. Aaron.
I keep going to go like that, so I'm so used not to talking here. So I want to also start by saying couldn't really have achieved anything without the staff support. They've been phenomenal. But I'll start with fire. So the main thing with the fire service, there's lots of things that have happened, but the main thing that's affects our island, we've got a new 24/7 crew in Newport and Ryde now. So Ryde's gone 24/7. So it's really important. And of course, the new fire station at East Cowes has got the money now to be built, which is equally as important.
Yep.
Police station, we got the police station front desk opened at Ryde and Cowes, and there'll be one opening in the base very soon. I'm also appointed on the panel to appoint the new chief constable shortly. So we'll be looking at that and what we need going forward, especially for the island. So I'm looking forward to that. We have a new digital strategy, 22 to 27, which was approved. And it was produced with the ambition to create the right conditions for digital technologies to bring about continuous improvement in how we deliver our services. So alongside this, we have a digital strategy board that the public don't see, but that's where everything's discussed and what needs to be done. And as a cabinet member, I've been sitting alongside the strategic managers, directors, and to date we've done 25 projects have been delivered. 25 projects are actually being monitored. An additional 16 projects have been identified but not ready to go live yet. Examples of this: the local tax support, data warehouse, youth justice system, which is a brilliant new system for the youth justice team. So looking forward to seeing what that does. Implementation of the new body cameras for the neighbourhood offices, to keep them safe and see what's going on. This is how we also capture how we fine people if they're found with dogs off leads, etc., or people drinking where they're not supposed to drink. It's things like that. The Isle of Wight National Landscape Partnership website.
Yeah.
So I did want to speak about the ICT, because they don't get very much air into what they do, but they do work incredibly hard at what they do. So they still got some things to deliver. The Children's Service Case Management System they're looking at the moment, Public Rights of Way Access Management System. So this is really integral. And as Debbie will know, Councillor Andre, the Adult Social Care Artificial Intelligence pilot for Magic Notes solution. So they do work really hard, and I'm pleased to say we have an excellent cybersecurity strategy 24 to 30, and I do know that team really know what they're doing, and they're recognised nationally, certainly by the LGA, of doing really, really good work. So Claire, Roger and team, it's been wonderful working alongside you. So community safety. So there was bids for funding, including Sandown Town Hall project, and the port in Newport. So at Ryde as well for the ASB hotspots for getting some more patrols down there. There's certainly partnership working with the police and the Police and Crime Commissioner. We've certainly had our fair share of funding, which I've always made sure that we get given grants go live. We've had a dedicated prevent board that's working well with partners. So that's started again a couple of years ago with new staff, etc., and that's going really well. Trading standards. Now, trading standards do a lot of work. So over the last 3 years, they've saved a total of £941,683 for local residents. I mean, that's a phenomenal amount of money, and I have nothing but praise for them at what they do with their scams, updates, etc. They work incredibly hard, and I've had a few residents that I've worked closely with them, and they've really been superb. I can't. So they also do the illegal vapes that they seize, the test products for age-restricted products. They do a phenomenal amount of work as well. So emergency planning is another department that don't get much credit a lot. So they do so much work. They've responded and supported services by service areas to a wide range of emergency flooding, disruption to supply of water, landslips, evacuations, animal disease and pollutions. Of course, we've had lots of flooding and we've had lots of landslips, and we've had a few evacuations recently. So they're constantly busy, and they're a team of three, that a great team of three as well. So I look forward to the new committee of community safety and environment. I'm hoping that's sitting under that one. That certainly that committee will do some training with them and understand really what they offer and what they do. Without very little credit really where it's due. So the licensing teams as well. So they've implemented local safeguarding training for licensed taxi drivers. Training includes both local and national issues, which drivers must complete every 2 years to maintain the taxi driving license. They've worked to improve the working relationship between event organisers and regulators through the Safety Advisory Group. So that's the SAG. The Isle of Wight SAG is held in high esteem throughout the country as being good practice. So that's wonderful. So I just want to say thank you to everybody. But for the crematorium, the one thing, I mean, the grounds are phenomenal there, but the one thing I'm really pleased about is the letters to heaven, those blocks we got, and how much comfort people get from that. That's something, and I'm really want to say thank you to the team that we did that, so nobody had to pay for that. It's done, and lots of people get comfort from it, and then everything goes back to the earth. So everything's
Thank you, Karen. Paul.
Thank you, Chairman. I could go on and on and on about what has happened in my portfolio over the last 4 years. And what I'm going to choose to do is 4 years is a long time. And much of that time has been spent with the island planning strategy, going out, talking to people, and coming home and bashing my head against a brick wall a lot of the time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap everything up in some of the things that have come to a head and that has been achieved within my portfolio in the last 12 months. Touching on the island planning strategy, members will be aware that the inspectors have looked at the IPS. It went through the Isle of Wight full council eventually last year, and I was very, very heartened that it did get submitted to the inspector. Not so heartened by some of the responses that we've had back, but I'd like to say a huge thank you to James Brewer for the amount of work that he's put through on this. I remember when I first became councillor, and James was there almost every single time we had one of our drop-ins for the community to come and talk to us about the island planning strategy, their fears. And I remember talking to the fears of residents from the West Wight when they spoke to me about the threat of the threat of garden villages in the West Wight was something that was put in place because of the housing demands, the housing numbers that we had to deal with under the previous government. It's funny how things have turned full circle, and we are in a similar position now. So again, many thanks to James and his planning team for to give them the support and actually their perseverance putting up with me for the last 4 years. Not the easiest person to get on with, but I'm really pleased that they were there and they've stood shoulder to shoulder with me. Our government, as I hinted to, has introduced housing expectations for planning authorities, with numbers reflecting those of the previous government to deliver 300,000 new homes across the country this year. As Cabinet Member, I've indicated that for the island, 1,103 new homes per year is not sustainable. I don't think very many people would argue with that. And even those people that would like to see more social housing built upon the island, the cost of getting people across to the island to put the bricks and mortar in place, and the costs and the limitations that our developers have on the island does demonstrate that we are sort of like potentially being set up to fail in the future. However, housing is a priority. Social housing and affordable housing remains a priority for this authority, and I think it will remain a priority in the future. One of the things that I was really pleased to see introduced, we had our peer review back in 2021, and one of the issues that we had was we wanted to restore people's faith and trust in the planning department, and people wanted to have that face-to-face contact again with planning officers. One of the things that we did was we opened up the free planning advice service on a Wednesday afternoon at Sea Close, speaking to officers about that service. It has gone from strength to strength, and there's discussion about having a same kind of system for developers. Again, it is a mire for developers. It is a mire for people with planning applications, and it offers them the opportunity to have some free advice with the planning team at Sea Close. So that is something that I was really, really pleased to see introduced in the last year. New local cycling and walking infrastructure plans, LC WIPs for short. They went to Cabinet in the last year and have been adopted. Sustainable drainage systems. Yeah, I know about them very, very well. Again, new policy that has been put in place within the planning strategy. There is the supplementary planning documents there as well to reinforce what we want to try to do with respect to dealing with flooding from surface water drainage, which is increasingly becoming a problem. I was at a SRFCC meeting earlier on. For those people who don't know, the SRFCC is the Southern Regional Flood and Coastal Committee, which looks at these things. And again, across the country, schemes are being introduced to make SUDs a little bit easier and a lot more accessible, and are in place to reduce the amount of surface water drainage that goes into our outfalls. One of the other things that we wanted to see introduced in the last year, and was introduced and adopted by Cabinet, was a health contribution supplementary document. Again, this is to support infrastructure in health facilities across the island. And again, another important supplementary planning document that we have adopted as a local authority. In recent years, and I would like to say a huge thank you to Wight Town Council, Newport and Carisbrooke Community Council. Got it right. Hey, I hope Jeff is still listening. And Shanklin Sandown Town Council for working with the enforcement team at the Isle of Wight Council. They have done some great things across the island. They've done some good work, and I think that it does demonstrate that our work with town and parish councils can work very, very well, and can have notable outcomes where this is happening. Finally, the AONB management plan was also was formally approved by full council. I think it got unanimous support, which is quite unusual. There's usually one person that decides to stick their hand up and oppose something, but I think it received the formal approval by full council, and it is with the minister awaiting approval if it hasn't been already. I know that was the case at the end of last month. One of the other schemes that a lot of members from the community came to see me about was the CO2 pipeline. It seems like a lifetime ago when we were discussing about the CO2 pipeline crossing to the English Channel from Fawley and going across the western side of the island. That was going to be one of these planning decisions that was going to be considered by government. But thankfully, that disruption was stopped and the scheme for the Isle of Wight was shelved. So again, thank you to all the residents that were involved in that, and great deal of thanks to the planning team and who has helped write this section of that has supported me in this section of the report. I now go on to coastal protection and flooding. Not quite all over. Section 19 priorities were issued, and I was really pleased to attend some of the meetings of the the Gunville Flood Resistance Forum. I still get invited to those meetings and I attend wherever I can, but they seem to be taking really positive action to alleviate flooding in their areas. I know for the local member, Joe Lever, it's been a bit of an uphill struggle, but I think he is at a really good place and he has done some fantastic things, getting that, working with Dennis, the chairman, getting that flood resilience forum up and running. I think it is an exemplar for the future. I know that Wright does the same kind of thing, but you know, to have that positive working between the community, the council, and agencies is really great. Work has also taken place, and I've attended public meetings over at Binstead with Councillor Ian Dorr with respect to residents that have been affected by floods in the Binstead area. And I know that monies have been made available now to support those residents in bespoke facilities to support them and hopefully mitigate against further flooding in that area. I know Councillor Stevens is also part of that as well, and I'm really pleased to be able to work with those councillors. I think there is still a long way to go. There are still issues, but I'm hoping that those can be ironed out. The Isle of Wight Landscape and Coastal Loss Forum has met and receive feedback and provide updates to both local communities, residents and local councils impacted by land instability. In addition, I met individually and attended public meetings with residents and businesses in Bonchurch, Ventnor and St Lawrence following landslips. And I'd like to thank Councillor Blake and Councillor Downer, the two ward councillors that have been affected by landslips in their area. I'd also like to say a huge thank you to Natasha Dix, who has been very much in the firing line on a lot of the coastal issues. It's not the council's fault at the end of the day, but I know that her and her team have been working over backwards, and you know, the emergency the emergency planning team have been really helpful to support the residents in that part of the island. The island hosted a meeting with the Environment Agency and the SRFCC, who I mentioned earlier on, to show show the Environment Agency and other agencies damage caused by the landfalls in Ventnor in 2013, which were quite significant. They are still having an impact upon those communities. You'll understand that, Councillor Jordan, with some of the issues that we've had with reopening Leeson Road. We're hoping things have settled down a little bit. I understand from today, meeting that was held, is that we've had a not too bad a winter with respect to further coastal issues, but you know, let's not count our chickens at this stage. In recognition of the coastal protection works down at Eastern Esplanade Ventnor, the Isle of Wight coastal team received the award for collaborative working at the National Construction SEC BRE Awards. Again, this I don't think would have been possible without Natasha Dix and her team working very closely with the Environment Agency. The scheme that we had for Ventnor Eastern Esplanade, although you see it and you think, well, it's just a coastal protection scheme, it's much more than that. It is protecting all those properties that lie behind it in Ventnor, and it is a very important scheme that we have received funding successfully for. So again, big thank you to the team. During this winter, we've seen restoration and upgrades, which has taken place to groins, to slipways, seawalls and navigation markers, all very important issues. If we don't maintain our infrastructure, we don't get the funding from the Environment Agency. As simple as that. They haven't got money to throw around aimlessly, and they expect local authorities to maintain the amenities that we've got, and if we don't, we could lose them. So it is really good that that work has taken place. Finally, monthly meetings have taken place between the Isle of Wight Association of Local Councils and other local councils, offering feedback to both Cabinet and officers. It's been quite important for this administration to have that face-to-face interaction. As Councillor PC Wilcox always say, you're our eyes and your ears, our ears. And it's important that we continue to work with our town and parish councils and community councils to ensure that this happens when the new committee regime is in place. I think if we lose that interaction that we currently have, I think that will be a sad loss for the island. And you know, I think, you know, one of the obvious things from my perspective as the lead for town and parish councils is the importance of working with town and parish councils. We cannot fund all the services we want to provide on the island. Without our town, parish and community councils, we would be a lot weaker without them doing some of the good bits as I say, the good bits, but the interesting aspects of some services that we provide. You know, their work into the library service, their work in planning enforcement, as I alluded to earlier on, their support in grass cutting, and doing those really important jobs for our local communities is really important. Their work with the environment officers, again, incredibly important. And I'm very pleased that Diana Conyers, who was chairman of IWALC, is still online, and as she's still here, and I think she's the only former chairman of IWALC online, I'd like to say a big thank you to Diana, because without IWALC support and town, parish and community council support, the island would be in a much weaker place. So a big thank you to Diana. Thank you. Thank you, Chairman.
Well, thank you, Paul. Your notes are well received. They're even longer the time you spent as cabinet member doing the job. But
Really? I thought mine was quite succinct.
but that's to do with that book that you've got in front of you with lines and lines of notes, and it's served you well, Paul. Thank you for that, and thank you for all you've done. Debbie.
Thank you, Leader. So, since May 2021, when the Alliance Group became the administration, I have had the privilege of holding the two largest portfolios, namely Children's Services, Education and Lifelong Skills, and Adult Social Care and Public Health. There have been many challenges along the way and some tough decisions to make. But I've always given my best throughout the last 4 years, and I've been proud to serve Island residents in this way. And if you will indulge me, I would just like to give a few highlights of the time, but this is by no means an exhaustive list. You have been warned. So we saw the introduction of the Primary Behaviour Service, which established a separate provision for primary age children away from the Island Learning Centre Pupil Referral Unit. The opening of Freshwater and Yarmouth School ahead of schedule and with significant funding from the Department for Education. And in addition to that, the substantial refurbishment of the Bay Church of England secondary site, again with funding secured from the Department for Education. The Household Support Fund, we've had 7 issues to date, allocates funding directly received from the Department for Work and Pensions to support island families and communities working with partners. And I know that this has been very well received. But there's always a very tight timescale for allocating this funding. And I would like to give special thanks to the team who administer this fund. We really do go over and above. I'd just like to highlight that if we don't actually allocate all of this funding according to the criteria that the Department for Work and Pensions give out, we actually do have to give the money back. And to date, 7 issues, we have not had to give any money back. And that is huge credit to the team who administer that fund. Another example of where we've really delivered for Island residents was at the opening of the Parklands Dementia Hub, which is a joint venture with the Alzheimer's Cafe and provides a wide range of support for those people with a dementia and their carers. And I know that is doing some wonderful work, really wonderful work. We oversaw and co-produced the Isle of Wight Poverty Reduction Strategy with a wide range of island partners. That was an incredible piece of work that involved consultation with, as I say, a very wide range of partners. And that's only the first stage of the strategy. We've now got a steering group that has actually come out of that to deliver measures that will genuinely help island residents that are struggling, and that will continue on. I think that's a point. A lot of the things that we've introduced as an administration will be our legacy moving forward. This is not a line that we draw. Things will carry on. So we are currently towards the end of a process of appointing a dedicated Director of Public Health, specifically for the Isle of Wight. We've launched recently the Smoke-Free Generation Initiative, where we secured government funding, and that's already having significant results, very successful results for those island residents that engage in the programme and want to give up smoking. We've introduced the Independent Island Living Strategy, which seeks to improve the housing offer for older people. We deliver the holiday activity and food schemes, and we've been doing that now since we came into the administration, which provides a wide range of activities for children eligible for free school meals that would otherwise, the families do struggle in the holidays. But not only do they get a lovely hot meal, but they get activities. I've visited the schemes. They have social interaction. It means they can still mix with their friends, but it also gives parents, working parents, that opportunity to carry on working through the holidays. And it's a lot of fun. Let's be honest, I've been there. The children have a lot of fun doing it, and we're really grateful to our partners who deliver those schemes. And we've actually built on that. Every time we offer the holiday activity and food schemes, we have more partners that come in to offer a variety of activities right the way across the island. We've increased provision for drug and alcohol support services. We know that there are people that do struggle, and we provide services that really do understand what those people need in order to live better and fuller lives away from drug and alcohol dependency. There has been some very enjoyable moments. I've really enjoyed, and I will continue to enjoy as an elected member, my role as a corporate parent. I've been a member of the Corporate Parenting Board since I was elected, but the memories that will always stay with me are of attending some of the Come Dine With Us cooking sessions, where I get to talk to our care experienced children, and it's a lot of fun. But also the social workers that attend, the children's social workers, they go above and beyond. The relationships that they build with the children is absolutely fantastic, and it's really great to see. So again, supporting and attending the Partnership for Education, Attainment and Children's Health annual games and art exhibitions. So every year there is a Peach Games where it's not those children that necessarily excel in sports, not those ones that would be chosen to be the captain of the football team or the cricket team. And it's wonderful to see children really enjoying being active in a whole range of perhaps not your traditional things like balls and things that wouldn't normally be considered usual sports. And it's really, really good to see that. And I would encourage everyone, there is currently a Key Arts and Art exhibition that has been put on, and it's the children are given a theme, and the variety that has come out of that is absolutely brilliant and stunning. So other things that we've been involved in, I've been involved in the beginning. One of the things that I have championed is accessibility on the island. It's really important that we do everything we can to be as inclusive as we can of all island residents. And I was in the beginning of the Inclusive Island Initiative, which encourages greater diversity in the workforce and to encourage employers to be more inclusive. And I think currently we had at least 20 employers that were putting that into practice and were actually broadening out their workforce, and everyone benefits. So that was really, really enjoyable to be involved in that. One of my passions is advocating for the young people of the island. It has to be said that when I first came into post as Cabinet Member for Children's Services and Education, the voice of our young people wasn't evident to me in our decision making as a council. And one of the achievements I'm really proud of is that on every decision making template that now comes forward, there is a standing item that has to consider the impact of that decision on our children, young people and their future, because they are our future. And it's only right and proper that you know, those decisions that we make, we consider the impacts. But it's not just about us as adults considering those impacts. It's about, we've involved the Youth Council, we've involved the youth MPs to actually tell us, rather than us telling our young people what we think. We've actively worked with the Youth Council and the youth MPs to ensure that the voice of young people is heard and listened to by decision makers. And along those lines, I have been delighted to attend the National Children's Services and Adult Social Care Conference, representing the Isle of Wight for 4 years. And it's when you attend these things and you speak to other councillors from other authorities, you understand the good work that is going on the island, and also you pick up best practice from other areas that can be brought back and can be implemented. I was delighted also, another great thing I really enjoyed was judging the Gardens in Bloom competition that was run by our adult social care director and service directors for members and staff of our reablement centres and care facilities, because it's only right that we do actually engage and celebrate the good work that is actually going on. And we also had a staff appreciation ceremony, because we have some amazing staff, we really do, that go over and above. It's not just a job to them. They really put all their passion and dedication into it. Children's social workers, adult social workers, they are absolutely amazing in the work that they do. And sort of following on from that, I was absolutely delighted to put a motion forward to full council that was also proposed by Councillor Bacon to recognise care experienced people as having a protected characteristic. I think we were the 112th authority in the country to do that, and it's part of a growing movement that recognises that care experienced people should be considered as a protected characteristic in equality impact assessments. I also had the challenge of managing the transition from working with our Hampshire partners within children's services and education, who, it has to be said, over 10 years did bring us from a bad state to drastically improving across the board, a mantle which I was delighted that our highly talented Isle of Wight Children's Services team have absolutely come in, not just picked up the ball and running, but they have worked at pace and have absolutely revolutionised, I would say, the Isle of Wight's Children's Services and Education. I know there's a lot more work to do, but the work, let's not sort of kid ourselves. The work that has been done so far to get us to where we are has been absolutely outstanding. So thank you, Ashley, you and your team. So just to finalise, throughout the last 4 years, it has been my privilege to work alongside some brilliant council officers whose dedication and professionalism has been outstanding and who have gone over and above to deliver for island residents. Finally, I would like to thank each and every one of my cabinet colleagues for their hard work and support. We haven't always agreed on everything, except our determination to always act in the best interests of island people. Yeah. But we have remained strong to the end, and I will miss my cabinet family. Thank you, Deb.
Well, thank you, Debbie. And I'm going to come to Julie, but just before I do, I think it's a very good point that our strength has been in, we do have differences. It's healthy because we've been able to work through those differences for the most part, if not all part, and still
With
remain respectful of each other and each other's views and contributions. So it's a very good point you made. Thank you for doing that. Julie.
Leader. Have a
Leave
comfort
the best till last.
a comfort break, do you?
Is this
Thank you. I've chosen to use my cabinet announcements again to review the last 4 years, and I've chosen to do it in the format, not of interpretive dance or song, you'll be pleased to hear. But I have done it through going through our wonderful papery thing that we all live by, officers and members, our corporate plan, which it's a great thing to have. So when you look back on it, it's actually really good to be able to say, we said, we did. And so this is what we're going to do. So the first one is number 35, because I come in the middle of the document, is about completing key regeneration projects to drive employment, skills and inward investment. What we did, so Newport Harbour, we had the Reba stage 3 plans for the cultural centre were completed and we're ready for an opportunity to invest. We thought this is going to be round 3 of levelling up, but having round 3 levelling up didn't happen in the way we thought it was. But anyway, we're ready to go for a new opportunity. The big one is Kingston Marine Park. So a regeneration site. Planning permission was granted last year, and the spades will be in the ground this summer for Medina Studios, film studios, game-changing multi-million-pound investment, which will enable high-skilled, well-paid jobs, increase tourism. The ripple out effect of this investment across the island is immense and almost immeasurable. So I'm very excited that investment is coming to the island, and we should be all very proud of the work that we've done together to get that over the line. Venture Keys, that attracted £5.6 million levelling up funding in round 1, which is investing in our marine industry, securing and providing new jobs and new and high quality public realm, working in partnership with East Cowes Town Council. Island Technology Park has now been completed, all the sites sold and filled. Skills plan was passed alongside my cabinet colleague, Councillor Andre, and we continue to develop skills, and we especially working, sometimes we don't see this, we work with partners across the region. For example, the boot camps, and we've run these boot camps on the island in the sector such as care. Anyone from the island can go and join other boot camps. So for instance, we've got film and creative industries also available. The economic development team were created with partners, DWP and Youth Trust, an outstanding programme at the Youth Hub in Wall Street to get young people into work. The programme is 3 times successful as DWP employment centres. It's been funded for another year, and this year we're adding in One Leisure, who are adding the opportunity for young people to work on their well-being by using one card. So that should be really amazing, having that holistic approach to getting people into work. We had a false start with Shanklin Spa. Unfortunately, the economic crisis towards the end of the last government meant that Shanklin Spa couldn't go ahead, and we continue to look for opportunities for Shanklin Spa and also Nicholson Road. Number 36, we will engage with business and communities on the island regeneration progress. Well, the biggest one is Building 41, which opened in 2022 and has gone from strength to strength as a co-working, conference and office space. This investment from the last of EU funding has enabled businesses and organisations to communicate and collaborate. All offices are full, we're making a profit, and we have an investor saver bid to create new offices for a new tenant. It's been an absolute outstanding project, and it's a beautiful place. If anyone hasn't had a chance to go there, do go there. Pierce Streets in Sandown now has an investor, and the plan is for Sandown Town Council to build new public toilets there. That's been a long running saga, that one, but we're virtually there. Branston Farm Business Park, which was funded by the LEP, is now open, and the homes are open to occupied. And we continue to look at developing stage 2. The Economic Development Board has been reformed with important sectors included, such as Together for Net Zero, the Tech Group, Rural Partners, Visit Isle of Wight and Creative Island, as well as our regular Federation of Small Businesses, Chamber and other partners. So it's really important to have that voice to support the council in making some decisions. Guidance, you know. So we've got Venture Keys now. The housing was housing due there. It's been deferred due to a need to retain the site for employment. The extremely successful tea mill are located on the site, and Homes England have agreed to the extension. Maresfield Road continues to be marketed for homes. Business e-newsletter was a victim of our massively reduced resources. It hasn't been able to happen, so that's something I wasn't able to do. Camp Hill improvements up there continue to be rolled out and is now sits under highways. Accessibility to work has been invested, and we've had 3 conferences held. I know Councillor Andre's worked on that as well. This has enabled employers to connect with people that have lots of abilities that may not be immediately obvious, and I'm really proud of the work that's been done by that team there. Number 37, elevate the role of creative industries as part of our regeneration strategy. So this is a big thing for me. I sort of said this is what we're going to do. Because the thing with Regen, it takes a long time, and you have to reflect back to Councillor Bacon as leader of the council back in 2016. He had the foresight to create a regeneration team, and I wanted to continue all that good work and you know, lots and lots of investment. But I felt it just needed a bit of culture and a bit of creativity put in there, because I've seen how important and how successful it was. You know, having a creative angle to regeneration could really have such enormous benefits to the wider community. So that was the thing. That was my thing, I guess, for this term of office. So we committed to a cultural strategy, and that was written and adopted as policy in November 23. We're a regional partner in Southampton's bid to be the 2025 City of Culture. I really had to twist the previous chief executive's arm, but I got there. But it's really galvanised the Solent into more partnership working, and we had the pre-launch of the new Solent culture strategy just this month over at the Saints football ground. And something that I was able to initiate with the leaders of Southampton and Portsmouth at the LEP, we drew in funding from Arts Council England and the NLEP to resource it. And this partnership approach has really been valuable as we move towards combined authority. And I think perhaps Councillor Jordan, you've seen that those friendships and those strong bonds have really come to the fore now, which, you know, you've ably even enhanced even further. In September 2021, we were granted priority place by Arts Council England, not only because of the underfunding the island had gone under, but also because we'd made a statement as a council to include culture and creativity in our regeneration strategy. We've gone from 2 to 5 national portfolio organisations, and have attracted around £8 million from Arts Council England across the island. So this can be from small project grants to individuals to £700,000 investment, which was only announced a few weeks ago, into the Island of Culture in 2026, £500,000 into Dinosaur Isle, and the highly acclaimed Cultural Development Fund, £2.1 million investment in department. And that project was one of the highlights at the Rochdale conference. Sadly, I wasn't able to go in the end, but this is, you know, we sometimes we just see what we do, but actually need to remember people watching what we're doing as well. And quite often we're leading the way, so we should be really proud of that. Using some of the Rural England Prosperity Fund, we had invested in large empty sheds at Building 41, and shade makers have taken a lease to enable them to work on large carnival creations and collaborate with other creative organisations on the island. Putting culture and creativity into the heart of our business community was a goal of mine. I'm very proud to have achieved this, and Creative Island, in fact, are tenants at Building 41. Using some of the Rural England Prosperity Fund, we invested in the, oh, hang on, I've just said that already. Okay, done that. Oh, no, I haven't. Have I said that? Yes, I have. Yeah. Number 38, use available powers to deal with long-term empty buildings that mar our seafront and town centre areas. This was a bit of an ambitious item in the plan. But having said that, you know, you've you've got to keep going, haven't you? You can't just give up. But we have had success. The aforementioned department was formerly the long-term empty Pax department store in Cross Street in Ryde. This is now open and providing activities and spectacle, plus new public toilets to the High Street area of Ryde. We're also successful in getting £3.1 million of funding from the Youth Investment Fund for Sandown Town Hall, which is a council-owned Grade 2 listed building, which has been empty for some time. This investment has meant the building has been saved and will be opening as a youth space in the summer. I've been really proud again of the team that have been working on that, because there has been some challenges. With any old building, you get challenges, and they've really risen to the plate, and obviously working with our builders and our architects as well. Legal issues have hampered the progress on seafront properties. However, we did engage with the Government High Street Task Force to get further insights into this thorny issue. We chose Sandown because we were given one town we could focus on. We chose Sandown because of the issues that they face there. But also investment in planning enforcement officers has borne fruit, with many properties being tidied up thanks to Councillor Fuller and his team at planning. And thank you for mentioning that in your speech earlier. It really, because lots of little interventions actually add up to quite a lot. It's really important to remember that. One site that's blighted my ward and the county town for over a decade is on Coppins Bridge. You see it every day. And this has now been earmarked for student accommodation to enable young people to stay and come here to learn. We've got the Isle of Wight College, Platform One and HTP and others are fully behind and engaged with delivering this project. And this is quite an exciting project, I think, because people forget actually you can learn up to degree status on the Isle of Wight, you know, so why not? But without having good accommodation, it's difficult to encourage young people to come over. The High Street Heritage Action Zones in Ryde and Newport were officially completed last year. That was about over £2 million of investment from Historic England, Isle of Wight Council, Ryde Town Council, and Newport and Carisbrooke Community Council. Transforming shop fronts and creating a design guide for our historic towns. And that is now council policy, that design guide. There still remains some highways work in both towns, but having attracted further funding from Southern Water, sustainable drainage schemes, these are looking to be done in the next 12 months. Historic England continues to be an important partner and invested most notably in the Guildhall in Newport and department. They'd also like us to buy Norris Castle, but I don't know if we've got enough in the kitty for that. Probably not, but that's what they'd like us to do.
Let's not frighten Chris Ward off today.
It's a very, very precious site that to Historic England. They do ask me every now and again. But again, the team at planning have been absolutely brilliant. Lee Byrne at planning has been fantastic in doing the enforcement there to protect that very, very important site. I've been a director at Visit Isle of Wight, helping to guide the second successful ballot of the event. The Walking Festival is award-winning and are very helpful in extending the season. 70% of the attendees are off island, and we all get to enjoy the splendour of Wight in bloom. Most of the work Visit Isle of Wight do is off the island, as they exist to attract visitors here. And last year, Visit Isle of Wight were one of the first LVEPs, a local visitor economy partnership, and they have all been involved across the Solent region, strengthening ties there. They continue to deliver high quality marketing to the island 365 days of the year. Number 40, promote people orientated place planning. Say that after you've had a gin and tonic. Place planning for town centres. We've now completed 4 place plans: Newport, Ryde, Cowes and Northwood and the Bay, and continue to provide place plan managers on the ground working in these areas to deliver outcomes highlighted by the community. We use and continue to use some of our UK Share Prosperity Fund to resource this vital team. The Green Link is a huge investment from government. Initially, our levelling up round 2 applications was unsuccessful. However, the government came to us over a year ago with news of £13 million investment in creating a sustainable transport corridor from West Wight through to Ryde. And this will enable us to deliver our Ryde and Newport LC whips as part of the overall scheme. So again, investing in our town centres to make them more people-centric. One leisure. So I'm coming off the portfolio, the corporate plan now, because some bits were in the corporate plan. One leisure comes under my portfolio, and I've been a fierce supporter and happen often to be a defender of this brilliant service. I'm now so proud to say they've recovered the pre-COVID income. And to those who said the service should be closed to save money, I hope you realise what a devastating and pointless exercise this would have been. We were successful in receiving £500,000 from Sport England to help with increased utility costs in 2023, which is the highest possible amount. I'm a proud One Card member, and I see firsthand what professional and high quality service the team deliver, despite big cuts in funding and senior members of staff leaving. Can't thank them all enough for their dedication and care. Sports development is often forgotten, and it was good to pass the playing field strategy last year and to continue supporting talented athletes with travel alongside the ferry companies. 2 years ago, I took on the culture and heritage and libraries, which was an absolute pleasure. Our artefacts, records, museums and libraries are so precious. Again, due to cuts, we now only have one service head who do a brilliant job in managing and developing the service, as well as attracting grant funding to invest into our buildings. I've talked a lot about cuts, and sadly that is the reality of the financial situation. The government continues to place our council in, as the cost of delivering services here, because we are an island, still needs to be adequately addressed. The Regeneration Directorate was a victim of this reality. 11 team members left and we merged with the new Communities Directorate. And thanks are due to all those team members that are no longer here. The remaining team pivoted, new people came in and their work has been absolutely outstanding. They continue to deliver for our community in what's a non-statutory service. I won't embarrass them by naming them. They know who they are. And I know you will continue to do great things for the island. I thank Laura and Phil for trusting me with this portfolio, and I hope I have been a team player, stood up to the plate and served you well. It's been an absolute honour. Thank you.
Thank you, Julie. And you have been a team player and committed and dedicated to doing the best for the island and for this authority and for the residents, businesses here under tough, difficult times. And it's been tough, difficult times for all of us, for this council. You know, so forget the funding cuts that we've had, continual funding cuts that have led to all manner of service reductions, increased charges and reduction in staffing levels that constantly make managing what seems ever increasing service delivery obligations dwarfed by that. Look, let me say firstly in my role, since Laura held the role for a period of time, all of those days she mentioned, I know she didn't talk about sleeps, but just days are better than sleep.
Torturous days.
Yeah. But one of the things that you find in the role is that you need support, guidance, help, and I've had that from all of you as a team. All of you and from the wider group, and it to a certain extent across the council. To a certain extent, we've have some decent councillors on this council, but more importantly for me, it's vital that your chief exec is in place. And Wendy has provided, as in that role of chief exec, has provided help, support, and guidance to me personally in my role, to my role in what I have to do, and to us as an administration and a cabinet. She's done that with her team. A direct, immediate team of director levels, which have been vital to us, to our authority, therefore to our community and residents, that we're able to continue to deliver services under such extreme circumstances at times. It's all of the strategic managers that work below the director level, and then all of our staff, because all of our staff somewhere is supporting everything we do. And I see this on some of our induction days when people come in, and actually it's funny because you imagine somebody are on their first day or first week, but some of because of the nature of the beast, as it were, some people come to the induction, they've been working here for 15 years. They've had the first induction. and there's nothing you can say to them because they've lived it. But it's vital, and I say to them, this council is not a building. It's not. It's you. You actually make this. You are the council, along with everyone that works for us. It's what makes the services we deliver happen and operate, and the data and information that they bring forward, and that ends up in many cases in reports that come in front of us, and moving forward will go into reports in the new committee system. And Simon and his team, Democratic Services, where would we be without the support of Democratic Services? We would not be able to function. And we are very, very well served and appreciative of Simon's whole team, yourself, Simon, and your team. And for me, elsewhere, the highways team. I have other council-wide is love. It's probably too strong a word, love, but affection for the people. One was the public health team that when I did public health many years ago, I loved public health. I love what they did, and I love the people that delivered it, and was here when they came across from the NHS. And of late, in another way, the highways team, and the work that they deliver under extreme difficulties and pressure, with a contract in place that's massively difficult to oversee and to manage. Yet they do, and we are more and more ensuring that we get the services that we pay for. That's all we ask out of it. Get the services we pay for. And I do appreciate everything the highways team done for me in that role as a cabinet member for transport. And back to Wendy and her help and guidance and experience in supporting the work that we did on devolution to bring that forward to this council and get accepted. I know there's still more to do, and that's to do this year, but let's hope that we conclude that. It is a good opportunity for this council, and with Wendy's help, guidance, and work with her counterparts and other authorities, and with civil servants elsewhere. It's all vital to driving forward and making sure that we end up with an arrangement with government that works for the whole Solent region, but most importantly for us on this island, for the Isle of Wight. For help in LGR, for local government reorganisation, in ensuring that we pull together the information and data that we believe will give us that exception from government to remain as we are as an island. I'm comforted by the Minister. I've met the Minister a number of times. I've met a few ministers a number of times, like Laura did. And I'm comforted that a question from the Deputy Leader of Hampshire to Minister McMahon very recently, she was interested in what an exception to the rules might look like. And I suspect that's because in Hampshire they have districts and borough councils and are concerned about how they're going to reorganise, and the struggle. And some of the meetings of other leaders that I've been to with districts and boroughs, they seem to be grappling with this idea that they've got to form a unitary. But she asked the Minister, Minister, what would an exceptional case look like? Hoping, I think, that he would talk about districts and boroughs, but no. Minister McMahon said straight away, lots of water around you might help. And I took that away from that meeting as he probably said everything that he could other than become the Isle of Wight. So I am comforted that we will have our exception in due course. And don't forget, what we've done every year with the help of full council, we set a legal full budget under extreme circumstances and funding cuts. We've asked constantly at the appropriate moments for increased funding. I mentioned that to the minister, and he remembered, he'd done his research, and he remembered that we got an extra 4 million a year. But I did remind him that we asked for 24.
Exactly,
We were waiting for the further 20 to come. So I've left him with that idea in his mind. What else did we do? We didn't increase parking charges. It's a small thing, but within setting the legal framework for the budget and having full council support it and pass it, we've not increased parking charges on this island for 3 years. We've done the same for the floating bridge. These are important things for people out there in the community that are also suffering hard times. They're small things, but they're nods and winks from us that we understand the difficulties that they face, and we'll do our best and have done our best to try and help those residents. What else did we do? We agreed, this cabinet agreed to replace the floating bridge.
Yes.
Work in progress. It's going to take a while. Agreed it. Delivered the right interchange.
Yes. A lot of noise around
That
that.
for an award as well, isn't it?
Grant funding, 10 million of grant funding. Nonetheless, it was difficulties. I still find it difficult to walk around the esplanade for fear of being physically attacked by people at the time who couldn't see the benefits of this scheme whatsoever. I hope they see it now. I'm encouraged that on Ryde Esplanade to Seafront that more and more people are taking out table and chairs licenses, animating and regenerating that area. And I think it's in part because opposite the road, the interchange is starting to look like a decent welcome to this island by people coming in. And very soon, the 2 empty spaces, we hope, will be filled in a cafe and a retail unit. So that was another success we did. We've been successful in grant bids. Very quietly, sometimes not so quietly, sometimes for mundane things like highways, like roads, £2 million for safety schemes on the A3056, or is it 3055? 3055 is military road, I think. 3056 is Sandown to Newport. Various schemes on that, £2.1 million of grant funding. We've had grant funding elsewhere across the island. We've just been awarded money by government for the West Wight Greenway. Again, a bid we put in for 13 million. We may achieve and spend about 8 million of that in this coming year on schemes. So we continue to bid for money for grants, and we have some success, reasonable success. Credit to our officers and our staff that put in the time, effort, energy, expertise to attract that money to make the case for this island. So that will continue as well. And what else do we do? Well, last year we found, again, we set a legal lawful budget, and we found £500,000 that we put into a community grant scheme. Small amount of money in the big picture, yet out there we started to deliver those small amounts of grants into the community to serve our residents. That was done as well as setting the legal lawful budget. And it was mentioned earlier, I'm quite proud of this also. We worked for 4 years with the town and parish councils, with IWAL. Every month they come into our room on screen, and we open up access. They're able to ask whatever they want, and we do whatever we can to assist them. But that link, I think, has built up a confidence in the town and parishes with the Isle of Wight Council, and it's opened up doors of opportunity for this council in seeking partnerships with our town and parish. So I'm very proud of that also. I'll just say that unfortunately Councillor Stevens is not here tonight. He's away recovering from an operation. and in some pain today. I spoke with him this morning. Nonetheless, Councillor Stevens has committed, he's been great support to me as a deputy. His experience and his commitment has been invaluable. But I know, because I've been beside him and he's been beside me, of the struggle that he's had to try and deliver affordable homes on this island. And we've had some success, and it's starting to increase now. But he's worked so hard on that in impossible circumstances in some cases, because of the financial problems of delivering affordable homes and building them without subsidies, or finding the subsidies, about £80,000 per house. But more recently, we've acquired some homes from a builder in God's Hill. We're going to use it for temporary accommodation. We're addressing the temporary accommodation. The numbers of families in temporary accommodation is falling. It will continue to fall as we acquire more and more accommodation to replace the temporary we've got. So I think we've put into place building blocks that the new governance system coming into the council will be able to further develop as we go on. So I don't have much else more to say other than thank you, Wendy, for you and your team supporting this administration and this cabinet, and therefore this council, and therefore this island and community, in delivering the services that we're required to deliver. I know it's not as though you're leaving or going somewhere, but there will be new challenges for you under new governance systems, and we look forward to a brave new world. So thank you for that. Thank you all. Claire, is there anything you would like to say?
Well, obviously it's a very short time in this position, so I don't have lots of things to list that I've been doing, but obviously I was in the civic role for 2 years and saw lots of different experiences from that, from citizenship ceremonies to representing the island with the Coburg twinning trips, and inviting them over to the island, showing off, just representing the island, being an ambassador. And it was a huge privilege and experience for all the different services that the council has. So for me, that's been great working with you guys, and as part of the cabinet team in that role, and as the administration. And I did go along to the Peach exhibition today. So in my role, I'm continuing with that, and I hope to hand it over to the new committees, to new committee system and group that's going to take that on and continue working with the children's services team at the moment to do the best with that. And so go along to the Peach exhibition, see what the children look forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Claire, and well done. Very quickly, and we'll move on.
Judy, to say about that you've been a very brave man, because you preside over cabinet with the most women ever.
Yes.
Well,
Yes. Well, it's just gone, but there's five women.
Maybe. Well, thank you for that, Julie. And it's been a pleasure, actually. Difficult at times because of differences, but nonetheless, I grew up with and was brought up by lots of women. My mum had 5 sisters. Grandmother, we lived with my grandmother. I just remember women in my life, and I just remember that. That's all. Men were out working, I assume. I didn't see them very much, but there we are. Thank you for that. You're right, Julie. Let's move on to the forward plan. Are there any comments on that? Any amendments or added or removed from it? I had a look earlier. I can't find anything. Any comments on that? No. So let's move on to members' question time, of which I have 3 questions. I'm going to look. I've one from Councillor Quirk. I'm going to ask Councillor Quirk if he will indulge us. His question and background is a third of a page, but the answer is best part of 2 pages. And I would ask him to indulge that I provide that in writing, Councillor Quirk, rather than read the question and read the reply. It is quite extensive, so that's what I intend to do. It therefore will be public, Chris. If you'll indulge me that, if not, I'll take the time to read it. But are you happy with that, Chris?
Yes, I was rather expecting it. It's a complex question.
Yeah.
I was expecting a complex answer, so I'm quite happy to receive it as a written response, as long as it that is made available on the council's website as well.
Thanks, Chris. You'll get a reply. It will be sent to all members, I believe, and then it will be posted on the website. And thank you for your question, Chris.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. I don't know if Councillor Lilly is online. I'm not sure that he is. No. In the same way, Councillor Lilly, it's not quite as long as Councillor Quirk, which is unusual for Councillor Lilly. Bless him. But I will provide a page of written response to Councillor Lilly, who's inquiring about Westacre Park. That will be circulated to all members. That will also be included in the council website as soon as possible. And that leads me on to a question from Councillor Bacon, who is in the room. And I'm happy to read that and read the reply if you want, Jonathan.
I got the impression you were actually quoting from it earlier when I asked a question. But
I've got a different reply.
Okay, please.
Thank you. So Councillor Bacon has asked this. How have decisions made by Cabinet on 20th March, in particular failure to follow 3 of the recommendations made in the school place planning report considered at that meeting, helped towards achieving the aims of the education strategy? In particular, how have those decisions helped towards achieving Pillar 5 of the strategy as set out on pages 23 and 24 of the strategy document? Having regard to the fact that in the report before Cabinet on the 20th March, paragraph 4 of the report stated that aligning the number of primary school places with the changing population size was a vital element of the strategy. Further, how have those decisions helped to address the imminent lapse of the primary school sector into an overall budget deficit situation? And the impact that that will have on educational provision in many primary schools across the island. Most importantly, how have the decisions made by the Cabinet helped to improve the quality of educational provision on the island and address the ongoing woeful educational standards on the island, which see us at or near the bottom of every relevant league table? And the response to that is that the education strategy relates to activity through until 2030. And the decisions taken on the 20th March 2025 were significant steps forward on the journey to realign the number of primary school places we have on the island with the changing number required, and ultimately to improve educational outcomes for all island children. Maintained Schools will submit their latest 3-year financial forecasts in May 2025 as part of the annual reporting cycle, and this will provide updated information on the financial health of the island school system. That's the written reply. Again, will be provided and circulated and on the website. Any further questions? There are no further questions. Therefore, at 3 minutes past 7, this meeting comes to a close. The final Cabinet meeting of this Isle of Wight Council. I thank you all so much for being part of the journey, and see you very soon.
Thank you.